Hello and welcome to Anime Lore and Fury video. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at how strong the Elves of Erya Uzruth actually were, and what or rather who held them back. But before we're going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. And the first things to consider about the strength of the elves is their natural power as elves, namely their life experience and age. Elves age so much slower than regular humans, and can thus reach an age that no normal human could ever begin to imagine. And even individuals like Rigid Bear's Karoo, who extended their life by 2 centuries through a magical ritual, would likely die a natural death, barring unforeseen events, which are very likely to happen thanks to Einsulgon, long before elves reach the end of their average, unmodified lifespan. And to illustrate just how different the perception of time is in the elven community compared to our own, for the elves, the expulsion from the Great Forest of Top to the Forest of Evasha, likely caused by the appearance of the great evil tree, Sytul Quay, 200 years ago, during the arrival of the evil gods, is an event still remembered by the older generation, because they experienced and endured it firsthand. This circumstance where the older generation lives alongside the younger generation, born in the Forest of Evasha, and their vastly different perspectives on life, was also a significant reason for the tensions within the elven village, and these tensions were between tradition and pragmatism, something Einsulgon also exploited 200 years after the elves' expulsion. In other words, the Elves of Erya Uzruth, despite being significantly younger than the older ones, possessed likely an enormous wealth of knowledge akin to a 70-year-old or 80-year-old human. And unfortunately, this knowledge remained completely untapped within Erya Uzruth's team. And this is because Erya's mindset doesn't extend beyond, "I am the strongest, respect me. I will prove my strength to everyone. Elves are objects to be used and enthralled, and they can warm my bed at night." So in other words, in a properly functional team, the elves' knowledge, even if limited to topics like forest and the monsters living in them, would be an extremely valuable asset that could greatly support their team. And this starts right at the beginning, from picking missions all the way to guiding the other team members through dangerous terrain. But under Erya's, let's call it leadership, however, this knowledge remained unused. Moving on to the magical strength of the elves. Despite their circumstances, they have much to offer, and we saw that all 3 elves could use support magic or healing magic. In other words, even in Erya Uzruth's team, they were powerful, and a tool to make an already strong fighter mighty enough to keep up with Hamuske, at least temporarily. And this is impressive considering Hamuske was already stronger than Gazav Stronov and Brain Anglaus at the very start of the anime and the light novel series. And since then he had been trained by the members of the Great Tomb of Nezarec, and of course by the Lizard Man, namely by Sarius Ushasha, to learn a martial art, to show Erya how to cut things short. So he basically cut off both his arms. So in other words, Erya likely scratched the upper end of level 20, if not entering the realm of heroes properly, thanks to the buffs and healing magic of the 3 elves, combined with his own strength. And here too the elves acted only on command, in a properly functioning team. With a structure based on more than just fear and violence, the elves would not only buff, feel and strategize on command, but also take initiative and warn people on their own accord, heal and buff them on their own accord, and this would allow them to use their magic far more effectively. And then there's also this idea that the 3 elves could master offensive magic such as fire or lightning magic, or maybe already have mastered them. And even if they couldn't use it right now, in a proper team, their long lifespan would make it very feasible to learn powerful offensive magic that could eliminate monsters from a distance, In other words, while the elves themselves are already strong enough to succeed independently in the immediate time span, they could be so much stronger in a proper team. But once again, Erya and the team structure hindered the full realization of their potential. And let's continue with a very interesting and often overlooked aspect of the strength of the three elves, namely the fact that they had no armor or weapons. In other words, while casters usually have a staff, scepter, or other items to focus their magic and boost it, the elves had nothing. And they also lacked any passive protection, such as armor or shields, or even a simple helmet. Since again, Erya didn't care about their lives at all, so they were completely unprotected. And any reasonably strong attack could eliminate them. It would likely have sufficed for a goblin lurking unnoticed in the background to pierce their bodies with a sharp stick to defeat them. And whether they would then receive feeding magic or not, or if Erya would simply decide he no longer cared enough about this specific elves and wants to buy a new one and leave them to die, is also on the table. So it is a very, very bad situation the three elves found themselves in terms of passive protection. So in other words, with reasonable armor, light armor that does not hinder the casting of spells, but provides at least some basic protection against simple attacks, as well as a scepter or similar tool, the elves could have been so much more effective, powerful and enduring. And next we come to perhaps the greatest weakness of the elves, and of the team they were part of, namely the ongoing trauma, lack of trust, and the hatred, anger, fear and contempt for Erya Uzruth, who held them in thrallship, to put it in YouTube-friendly terms. The entire team was a disaster, structure-wise, and no one trusted anybody else. The elves didn't fully trust each other because members of their group keep dying and then being replaced by new ones, and they didn't trust Erya either because, well, he was Erya, their violent lord and master. And Erya didn't trust the elves because, after all, he was Erya, he hated elves, he saw them as lesser beings, and he enthralled them. And this entire dynamic also served as a fitting counterpoint to Machiavelli's idea that it is better to be feared than loved, because in a properly functioning team, not one led by a megalomaniacal and brutal narcissist, Erya could have been healed by the three elves even after losing his arms. I mean both of them, to enforce his will, while trespassing in Ezrik would still likely have resulted in a death sentence, in the best of circumstances, in any other cave, in any other dense forest, or a similar setting. This situation could have been salvageable. Erya could have been healed, and together they could have fled, using lightning magic to blind Hamuske, throwing smoke bombs, releasing a foul or poisonous mist, which later could then be neutralized, even if inhaled by the elves and Erya themselves, by using detoxification magic, or using a combination of stealth and mobility buffs in order to escape into the wilderness from his enemy. Again, all of this could have been possible in another situation, and if the team was basically built up on trust and mutual respect, and friendship and kinship, and at least camaraderie to a basic degree. You know, the idea of not being left behind, but actually being healed and rescued by the other team members. But instead the elves simply waited for the feared tyrant to meet his end, hoping a monster would take him down. In other words, the team itself had a genuine interest in seeing their very own leader and strongest fighter perish in battle. And this, alongside all of the other factors, further weakened the combat effectiveness of the team. A team needs trust and an unwavering willingness to help one another, no matter what. It needs a sense of camaraderie and the assurance that even in the event of injury, one won't simply be left behind to die. Because otherwise, no sane person, again, we are not talking about Erya, would risk injury to themselves at all. And with all of that said, the question now arises, how strong are the elves themselves? And taken individually, the elves would probably rank somewhere on the silver tier in terms of guild ranks, so they would be a bit weaker than the team of the Swords of Darkness. But this is considering only their current equipment provided by Erya, which consists of tattered clothes and nothing else. However, with the actual right equipment, a proper team of equally strong comrades, and a team dynamic based on equality and loyalty and kinship and friendship and camaraderie, they could easily reach the gold tier, surpassing the Swords of Darkness. Especially if they were allowed to keep part of the wealth they earned through their efforts, and use it to buy new, possibly magical equipment, just like other adventurers and worker teams have done so. So in terms of levels, they likely be in the high teens, somewhere between level 15 and 19. However, they could potentially already have surpassed level 20, it's hard to say. But given they have been fighting for most of their lives, I consider a level of 15 plus to be realistic. But again, they could also be a bit, but just a bit weaker than that. And regarding classes besides caster, which of course they had because they augmented and buffed Erya Uzruth, there should also be a ranger, scout or tracker classes somewhere in their skill and class tree. And this makes sense since they always had to keep an eye out for monsters around the Elven village when they were back in the Great Forest of Ivasha. And they were also sent out by Erya to scout or trigger traps, so therefore even a level in rogue or thief might also be conceivable. Additionally, they could theoretically be proficient in archery, or alchemy, or something else along those lines. And finally, the elves could also have become even stronger if they had been power leveled, like the lizardmen were, after being resurrected by Ein Soul Gone. Although it might have required some persuasion to convince the elves to wear them, let's call them necklaces in this case. And this item was specifically designed to increase the amount of experience points that are gained by doing stuff that makes one more experienced, but also weaken the wearer physically. It's essentially a great tool for power leveling, which is why it was also used by Eins and the Lizardmen during the 7th volume. And with that said, now it's your turn. What is your opinion on the strength on the elves and on the team composition and their non-existent equipment? Let me know it down in the comment section. And with that said, please check out my German channel, my fantasy channel, and if you don't want to listen to my voice or accent, but are still interested in the things I have to say, I also have made an AI channel narrated by almost a woman, where I use AI voiceovers for my videos, and the channels are all linked down in the video description. Also please check out my Patreon if you want to support me beyond just leaving a like or sub, and with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel, and special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, ASK, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Bezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dan Pep, Dragonlord Placido Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feral Shivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch V. Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Lofrazer, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Ruru, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Sir Axolotl, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Zinukai, and Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.